Babe, guess what?
What?
Peloton just closed at over $100 a share.
Cool.
Babe, we're gonna be rich. You might as well just call me Jeremy Powell now. I'm basically printing money over here. Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name is Tamer, and today we're gonna be taking a close look at Peloton stock and seeing, does it have what it takes to double your money in 6 to 12 months? Now, with the upcoming low-cost treadmill on the horizon, the holiday season, New Year's resolutions, everyone to be fit and active, can Peloton stock really double to $200 a share? Well, that's what we're going to be taking a look. So when I analyze each and every one of my investments, I look at them from a variety of different data points. I look at revenue, I look at EBITDA, their margins, their guidances, but then I also turn to social media, look to see what people think of the product and how much more people are talking about the product right now. And this whole space in general, this whole new connected fitness industry space. Now, one of the first things we're going to start off with is by looking at the company's quarterly earnings. It's a great way to get a quick snapshot of the company, see what they're doing right now, their performance right now, then also what are their guidances for the future. So what can we project for their future? So let's go ahead and let's start off by popping into those quarterly earnings. So what I've done is popped open Peloton's Q4 earnings, and we're just going to take a quick look at them, run through a couple of numbers and give you my thoughts on them, right? So the first thing off the bat, we're going to talk about Q4 and full year 2020. their fitness subscriptions grew 113% to 1.09 million. Digital subscriptions grew 200% to 316,800 total members. I mean, insane growth. Over 100% on the fitness connected subscription, and then over 200% on the digital subscription, which is their, their app that they use to funnel people in. Revenues, $607 million in that quarter, 172% growth, right? Full year 2020, $1.8 billion, 100% growth. Insane numbers. My favorite number over here, because Peloton is secretly a SaaS company underneath, right? Average net monthly connected fitness churn, 0.52% for Q4 and 0.62% for full year 2020. And we have Q4 12-month retention rate, which is 92%. This is an insane number. Anything less than 1% is great, right? But they're at 0.5 and 0.6. Basically, anyone that's subscribing to a Peloton subscription is not leaving. All right, my next favorite number, gross profit margin. Q4 gross profit margin grew to 47.6%. Amazing, it's almost 50%. Connected fitness gross margin was 45.3%, subscription gross margin was 56.8%, and subscription contribution margin was 64.1%. All very, very strong numbers, right? And if you think about the subscription, it has fixed costs, right? So like these margins could go higher for subscription. Q4 net income, man, Peloton is profitable. Look at this, $89.1 million in net income, right? In profit. We're talking about 27 cents EPS. Right, we got adjusted EBITDA was 143.6 million, right? Amazing numbers. Now with numbers like those, Peloton has proved itself, right? It's proved itself to be growing and growing fast. It's made profit. Like, that's insane. It made profit. And like, its unit economics are set up for it to scale further. Right? And like, so let's think about it. Peloton, 80% of its revenue comes from device purchases, right? People going out, buying the bike, buying the treadmill. And that other 20% is their connected fitness subscriptions, right? And this is where I think Peloton is still underpriced. I think people are still kind of looking at Peloton as if it's still just a pure hardware play, but it's kind of similar to Tesla, where it's a software hardware player. Yes, Tesla sells cars, they have the margins of cars, but really there's more of a technology like foundation behind it, right? And that 20% of revenue that comes from subscriptions is insane. It acts like a SaaS company, right? It has such relatively low churn rates, 0.75%. So basically anyone that goes out and subscribes to Peloton's like connected digital subscription never leaves it, right? And that's $40 a month additional to what you paid for the treadmill, right? The Peloton becomes essentially useless without the subscription. Think of that. People buy a treadmill to work out with, and after they buy this relatively expensive treadmill, they go and pay $40 or more per month just to use the damn thing. Like, that's insane. And that's where I think Peloton can really prove itself to be like double to $200, because when they double their customer base, it's not just doubling the revenue, they're doubling their ARR, the annual revenue, just from the subscriptions themselves. And just think about the scale of that, right? Another user comes into the platform they just broadcast that same live stream to that new user, right? It has fixed costs to produce this content, right? They just hired the same instructor. They produce that one class per day or those 3 classes per day, and then they go and give that out to people, and they don't have to make any more content. It's the same whether you have 10,000 users or 10 million users. Both of them will get the live stream content. Like, it's insane to me, the scale of this, right? Now, one of my favorite things about this business model is this golden ratio. I mean, I call it a golden ratio that they've set up. Right? They have an extremely high LTV, lifetime value of a customer, right? They're paying thousands for the bike or the treadmill, and then they're paying $40 a month for who knows how many years, 3, 6 years, right? Maybe the whole life of the treadmill, right? They have a high LTV in the thousands, and then their cost of customer acquisition, right, is dirt cheap. You know, in previous quarters when it wasn't pre-corona, it was around 20 to 30% their marketing expenses to acquire. But now during corona, it's literally gone to zero. They're only using word of mouth, right? And think of the scale of this, right? They're taking advantage of such a great opportunity in the time. And yes, corona will die off and there will be more people that are trying to go back to the gym, right? But I think once you've established your brand using word of mouth as it being the best in this industry, like, you can't beat that. No matter how much Facebook ads or whatever you spend, like, you can't beat word of mouth. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is this upcoming tread, right? And they had this previous model, the tread, right, which was like $4,000, like what, $500, $300, right? And it was insane for a treadmill, like insane pricing. Every other treadmill in the market is like what, 1,000, 1,200. I think I even saw some on Amazon for like 700 to fold up, right? Some really cheap ones, right? But they're selling this treadmill for 4,000, and then they were like, yeah, it's not really our biggest seller. Well, of course not. It's a 4,000 something dollar treadmill. But recently, they just announced the new tread, right? And then they have the Tread Plus at $24.95. Like, literally when I saw this, I got so excited because, like, this is a reasonable price point, right? Before, 4,500, way out of there. Like, I don't know, I couldn't even justify it to some of my friends who make like $100,000 salary, like a $4,500 treadmill. That's like bizarre, right? But now at $24.95, I think this is potentially a bigger opportunity, and I'm going to estimate roughly a double opportunity than the bikes are. Now, the one thing to note though about this, you know, upcoming tread opportunity is we likely won't see it until like, you know, Q2 of 2021, right? The new treadmill hasn't really been, you know, like released and delivering to people. I think it comes out in like the beginning of 2021. So really the impact on revenues, we won't really see it until like, you know, mid 2021. But I think it's going to be such a huge opportunity that right now, like, buy Peloton stock and like hope for that opportunity being, you know, worthwhile for you. Now, one of the things I like to turn to, and it's kind of like, I don't know, something I do that not a lot of other people do, but I wish other people other do, is when I do my stock investments, I look on Twitter, right? I see what the community is talking about that product, right? And like, Peloton just amazes me by how, like, you know, how much its users love its products. Like, they'll let you know how much they love it, right? And part of me before was like, they're just trying to compensate because they spent $5,000 on a treadmill. Like, of course I have to love it, right? But no, really, these guys really love the product so much. Like, if you go on Twitter, right, and you just type in Peloton, you get so many users who are talking about, I just got mine, I'm so excited, I love it, I'm so happy, I've been using mine for 3 months, 6 months, and I'm loving it, I want to buy another one for my wife and my kids and my grandkids and whatever, right? Everybody wants a Peloton, right? Everybody that had a Peloton on Twitter that I've been looking through just loves it, and I really haven't even seen a single bad review, which is insane, right? All I see is people talking about how expensive they are, but yeah, those people aren't buying it, right? But the people who are and who did are like raving about it. And the wild thing is, like, I go and I look up their competitors, right? I look up Nordic Track. Oh man, that's a mess right there, right? You literally type in Nordic Track and the first result is like victims of Nordic Track. Right, that's insane to think about. You have such like this, like, two extremes. You got people who will, like, you know, die hard, will, like, you know, will dive in front of a train for it to save a Peloton, right? And then you got like victims of Nordic Track, right? Which is insane, like, you know, the gap between the two, right? And if you look at all of those companies, right, all those regular, you know, treadmill, bike companies, they're all like, you know, littered with bad reviews about the product, about customer service. Oh my God, customer service, like literally the worst customer service in those other companies, and then just quality issues, right? But with Peloton, you get top-notch customer service, top-notch products that are built really well. Like, Consumer Reports always rates it the best treadmill in the, you know, in the market. Now, I can't just, give out every bullish case on Peloton. I also do examine why I'm bearish on it, right? What are some things that are holding me back, and what are some things I'm thinking about in the back of my mind are like, oh, maybe I should hold off on my investment. Now, I gotta understand, what are the downsides? And I think right now, one of the biggest downsides is the production capability. So right now, Peloton has over 230 million devices, purchases on back order for delivery. That's an insane amount of money, right? And if you go on Peloton websites right now and you go and you try to go buy one, right, they'll let you know saying, hey, we're on a 4 to 8 week back order, right? So you won't be able to get your device for 1 to 2 months. Now, when I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about a marketing perspective, right? I'm thinking about you took them through the funnel, they're about to check out, and all of a sudden they get this really big thing in their face saying, you know what, I'm not gonna get my Peloton when I want it, right? We all want instant gratification, right? We're so used to Amazon 2-day shipping or next day shipping, right? We're like, I want it now. But then Peloton's like, no, sorry, you can't really have it right now. You can get it 1 or 2 months. And that makes me worried about, how many people are saying, maybe I shouldn't get this Peloton. I kind of need it right now. And then maybe I should just go to a different competitor, right? Whether that's Bowflex or Nordic Track or buy the SoulCycle bike or something like that, right? And that's something that's on the back of my mind. And I know that they've been expanding their production, their manufacturing line. I think they did a recent acquisition of a couple of manufacturers to, increase their production capabilities. But that only really hits in, I think they said around Q1 or Q2 of 2021. So it has me concerned, for the holiday season, can they really, fulfill those orders and really get them out to users? Or will it just be missed revenue that goes to competitors? And I think that's a fair question to ask yourself, right? And I think that one of the things I think about is, when people go and buy a Peloton, they know it's the most expensive product on the market, right? And I think when they justify, hey, I'm going to go buy one, I think they're less inclined to, settle for something less, settle for something inferior that might be cheaper than to just have what they want, right? They've already convinced themselves, I want this, and yes, I know it's expensive, but you know what? I really want it, right? It's kind of like when you have a new iPhone, when their new iPhone comes out, right? They're out of stock or whatever, but you really want it. When you go to the Apple store and they tell you, you have to wait a month to get the iPhone, right, when the beginning, right? You're like, do I go and buy an older iPhone, right, because it's available, or the previous generation, or do I go and buy a Samsung Galaxy instead, right, because I want it right now? And 9 times out of 10, you're probably gonna be like, no, right? I'm just gonna wait it out, it's worth the wait. And I think that's what's gonna happen to a lot of, people that come up to that page and actually are wanna buy. I think a lot of times they'll just buy it and just wait, right? Because they really want the Peloton experience. If they got it from word of mouth, right, most likely they came here just to buy a Peloton, right? And that's what I'm kind of thinking going ahead. But I don't want to deny the competitors in the space, right? There are tons of competitors, and I think it's important to look at all of them, right? You have Nordic Track, you have SoulCycle bikes, you have Bowflex, right, which is under the parent company Nautilus, which is the ticker symbol NLS, right? And then we also have Apple Fitness coming about, right? And this whole connected fitness, live streaming fitness and working out from your home is exploding, and there's so many competitors. And I think, we have to be open and seeing that, these competitors do exist, but is Peloton, can it set itself different than everybody else? And I think it can. I think it's already established this brand identity of being the top of the top, right? And I know people usually think of Peloton as being, a flex bike, or people, only rich people have it, but really it's grown a lot and changed a lot in mindset, right? I know so many of my friends who are 75K to 100K annual salaries who are buying them, right? This isn't just something that millionaires, go out and buy. So I think just investing in this space itself is great. Now, one of the other bearish cases and maybe potential downsides is coronavirus. And it's no lie that, coronavirus has had a big impact on Peloton in a really positive way, right? When coronavirus hit around March and April, all these gyms were closed down. Everyone was working from home, right, and stuck in their house. And they had no other means to exercise. They couldn't go to their gyms because it's closed, and corona spreads all over in gyms. Just imagine a bunch of sweaty people with all their bodily fluids around passing corona, right? So gyms closed, and then people were stuck at home and wanted to figure out a way to exercise. And what did they do? They went out and bought fitness devices, right? They bought treadmills, they bought bikes, they bought real bikes and stationary bikes, right? They bought anything they could exercise with. And Peloton benefited heavily with this, right? They didn't have to do any marketing, right? People were just looking up, bikes and treadmills, and they were the top of the top. And I'm sure word of mouth had to help with this. Someone contacted their friend Jim, and Jim said, hey, me and Lisa got, the Peloton, we really love it, you should try it out. And, they went and bought one and then tried it out and they referred all their friends, right? So they've been benefiting from coronavirus, right? They've had to spend literally like $0 on marketing. All of it comes from just people talking about Peloton. And my one question is, what happens as, coronavirus starts to die down a little bit, right? What happens as more vaccine news comes about, right? What is the stock going to react, right? How is the stock going to react, right? And that's something to, kind of be aware about, right? I think as, reopenings keep happening, I think the US is like, gradually becoming like fully reopened now, right? Are people going to go back to their gyms or not? And, I think that's something that stays in the back of my head. And part of me wants to believe, and part of me actually thinks that the more people who experience Peloton and who experience just working out from home are going to be more inclined to stay with working out from home than going back to their gyms, right? And I think part of it comes from convenience. They can do it while they're at their house. They can do it at any time. When they're between meetings or something, they can just pop in and get a quick workout in. It's from a safety perspective, it's more safe. You're inside the comfort and safety of your home rather than being in a gym where there's, more germs and corona spreading around. You're protected fully, right? And I think also from a, money perspective, right? I think many families, whether they're couples or couples with kids or something like that, a family membership to these gyms can be pretty pricey. They can between $40 to $60 a person, right? And if you have a husband and a wife, that's double the price, right? And if you have any kids and anybody else in the family, that that price to go to a gym really skyrockets. Whereas if you just buy a Peloton, all of your family members can share the device. You can all kind of break across, split the cost basically across each other. All right, and it's like no longer are we paying $200 a month for just me and my wife to go to the gym, but now it's just this Peloton that we bought, and then we just have to keep paying $40 a month, and we can have multiple accounts in the Peloton, to keep track of our progress. And I think from a lot of different factors, I think Peloton will succeed after coronavirus starts to die off. Now, one of the last things I do when I go into an investment is go ahead and do a little bit of technical analysis. And it's not anything too crazy. I don't go and, pull up every single study and every single, thing on the chart. I keep it pretty simple, but I use it because I want to make sure my investments are going on the right trend, right? I usually like to sell out when I think that there is an indicator that is going to point to a downtrend, because I really don't want to ride the downtrend, right? I want to maximize the use of my money. If Peloton's about to go into a downtrend, then I try to get out while I still have a good amount of profit, and that way I can put that money to a different investment, right? So we're going to pop over into my computer, we're going to open up Thinkorswim, and we're going to take a quick look at Peloton stock and how it's performing, and whether it's still a great investment to go into right now, and at what levels would I start investing into, dollar cost averaging into, and just figuring out where's the trade in Peloton and where can it go. So let's go ahead and pop into my computer. Alright, so I have Thinkorswim pulled up, and I've gone ahead and searched up ticker symbol PTON, that's for Peloton. And right now we're on the daily candlestick, and we're looking across the entire year. And we're just going to analyze Peloton and see if it's moving in the direction that we want it to, and are there any indicators on potential weakness or upside, and just taking a quick look at it, right? So as you can see, Peloton, I think IPO'd September of 2019, so just right around this area. And it kind of hovered around between, let's say, $37 a share and the lows of about, $20 a share, right? So it kept, bouncing between these lines, right? Not really going anywhere. And, I think around in March and April, we had a bit of a dip down because of Corona. And then all of a sudden people understood, what Corona could mean for Peloton, more orders, people working out more at home. So then it started to shoot back up. It crossed the $37 line. And it's just been on this crazy increase, right? Going from $37 to highs of $100, right? So let's focus more on this region, right? And I'd like to keep technical analysis pretty simple, especially with these long-term plays. If I'm doing something short, for example, like a 1 month or a 1 week play, I'll take out a bunch of indicators, try to make sure I'm making a great investment. But right now I only have the 50-day moving average pulled up, and what we can see is Peloton's moving beautifully across this line, right? So one of my indicators for these long-term ones is, does it ever cross the 50 moving day average, because that's a sign of potential weakness in the stock. But it never really does. It always bounces. It doesn't even bounce. It doesn't even get near it, right? It gets near it over here, but then it bounces back off of it, doesn't break it, which is so strong, right? So over here, down over here, we get pretty close to the line over here, but we still would bounce off it, make new highs. And then right here is the interesting thing, right? So the $100 mark has always been really interesting to me, and I really have been watching it closely these past couple of days, because that $100 mark is like, you know, a big psychological number, right, when it comes to traders, right? Can it break the $100 mark and, you know, show that growth and, like, you know, that strength of the company, right? Something interesting kind of happens over here. I'm gonna try to show this on a 4-hour one, maybe. That would probably be best to do it. But yeah, these past, like, what was this, September? Like the past month, right? $100 has always been kind of like this number that Peloton needs to kind of cross over, right? And that's the one I've been kind of like watching, right? So right over here around September, what is this, September 10th, right? We had a push up to $100, right? So we had this big push up to $100, and then we came back down, right? So I'm gonna put the line over here. And I'm gonna watch the bottom, right over here. Catching these bottoms, right? So over here we've got it going up to 100, then back down to this line over here, back to around 78, then going again and trying 100 again, but then, you know, reaching that line of resistance, right? And can it break 100, right? Can it close at over $100 a share? And nope, doesn't, goes back down. But the one interesting thing that happened is it didn't really go back down to this kind of line right here, right? It was right here, right, and it bounced off. It didn't even have to go all the way down, and that showed me two things, right? It showed me that it was, you know, moving in the correct direction, but it was also building up strength, right? So each time it hit resistance, it went back to support, but also built it back up again to go and hit 100 again. But each time it hit 100, it got stronger and stronger. Like, look, we're making higher lows, and that's what the key when I look for in long-term investing, right? And I'm looking at technical analysis, I want to make sure the company is making higher lows, right? Because that just indicates strength on the company. Yes, it's trying to break 100 because 100 is a big psychological point for traders, but, you know, right now it's like showing like really good strength. And then something happened yesterday, right? And then we're gonna look at this on a 5-day chart, and let's see what happened yesterday. Yesterday it broke out and it literally closed at over $100. I think it was like 131, something like that, right? It closed at over $100, and that was the first biggest milestone. And it hadn't done that before. It had crossed 100 and then just dipped right under it and right after it. But now it had fully sealed itself and closed at over $100. And to me, that was really bullish, right? And yes, today it did slump down a little bit, but it still wavered between 100 and like the 99.8. And I think that shows how strong Peloton really is. If this was just some type of push up that was done by a couple of traders making, like, you know, trying to make a quick profit, the next morning after 100, we would have seen heavy selling, right? And that's what we see a lot of times when stocks push up really fast and at price levels that really can't justify, we see huge sell-offs the next day, right? People taking profits. But we didn't see that with Peloton. We saw relatively good strength. And I think that's because Peloton closed at over $100 a share the day before. People had really realized that, you know, Peloton has strength behind it, and they were net buyers of that at that day, right? And that just goes to show that I think Peloton, from a technical analysis point, is hitting all the marks for me. It's bouncing off the 50-day moving averages and nowhere even near them right now, right? And it's also showing this great bullish trend, right? I mean, this is a classic ascending triangle. If you look back at it, this is a classic ascending triangle, trying for 100, but also making new higher lows. And it was just primed for a breakout. And I think that's exactly what we saw. We're seeing a little bit of wavering right now in the end. And I think in the next couple of days, we're going to end up seeing whether it's going to end up shooting up a little bit higher or going down and consolidating just a little bit. Could be a false breakout maybe, but I don't think so. I mean, if you're anywhere around here, like pick up shares around $90. Potentially, if it does consolidate a little bit, maybe you want to pick up something around like, you know, 94 or 90, right? But I don't think right now, unless there's something big that happens in the market, that it's going really under 90 anytime soon. And if you end up seeing Peloton starting to, you know, go up in the hundreds, start buying in, right? Because this thing could just blow up, right? It can go to 120, it could go to 150, and with the long-term outlook on Peloton, with all the bullish cases and keeping in mind the bearish cases, I think Peloton is set to double your money and go to $200 a share easily within the next 6 to 12 months. So that's how I look at technical analysis. It's not anything too crazy, just to keep it simple and make sure that Peloton's on the correct trend. So there you guys have it. I'm like really bullish on Peloton, as you guys can see, but I've looked at everything. You know, I've looked at a variety of data points, and I'm really bullish on Peloton, right? I think it's like this great product in a great industry that's only going to be growing. I already have tons of shares in Peloton, but I might be doubling down if like in the next couple of months it dips a little bit, right? Or if it keeps on going higher, I might just buy a little bit and dollar cost average up a little bit, because I don't want to miss an opportunity for it to go to 200, right? I think it really has the opportunity to double your money in the next 6 to 12 months. I think there's tons of opportunity with the new treadmill, with their margins being so high, and just overall hype and demand for Peloton. Right? And that's why I love this stock investment so much. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Are you guys buyers of Peloton? Are you selling Peloton shares? Are you shorting Peloton? Right? I don't know who would do that, but if you are, let me know. Right? Let me know in the comments down below. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I tried to go into depth into like how I would really analyze all of my stock investments and give that back to you guys, the viewers. Right? So let me know how I did. If you guys wouldn't mind, I'd love it if you guys go ahead and smash that like button, go ahead and subscribe down below and turn on those post notifications. I'm gonna be doing a bunch of these stock analysis for different tickers, whether that's Slack or Peloton or Snowflake or any of these other hot ones, even Tesla too, right? So go ahead and turn on those post notifications so you'll get informed whenever I post a new video. But yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.